In the quiet hours before dawn, where shadows cling to the walls like unspoken regrets, Mara Quinn navigates a life woven from devotion and doubt, her every choice a fragile thread holding back the unraveling truth of her heart. The weight of love, once a comfort, now presses like an invisible chain, whispering that freedom might cost her everything she knows. Yet a flicker of defiance stirs within, urging her toward the light she fears to claim. As the first gray light filters through the curtains, Mara's hands move on autopilot through the dim kitchen. Mara's hands move on autopilot through the dim kitchen, wiping down the counter where Jordan's coffee mug sits, stained and accusing. The apartment air hangs thick, like the guilt she swallows with every breath. She scrubs harder, the sponge rasping against porcelain, as if friction could erase the echo of last night's words. Voice over. He said it again. You're overreacting, Mara. It's all in your head. If you loved me, you'd trust me. Gaslighting, they call it. But admitting that feels like admitting I'm breaking us. So I nod. I apologize. And I keep the peace. For him. For us. Her shoulders slump under the weight, a familiar heaviness pressing down, pinning her to this cycle. She folds laundry next, shirts that smell faintly of his cologne. Comforting once, now a tether. The guilt coils tighter. If I speak up, I'm the villain. Selfish, unloving. She folds a crease, just so, suppressing the ache in her chest, the raw throb that demands air. As she straightens, her eyes catch the faded photograph on the fridge, edges curled from years of clinging. It's them, younger, laughing in sunlight that now feels borrowed. Her fingers hover, tracing the smile that no longer fits her face. The image blurs, not from age, but from the tears she blinks back. Why does holding on hurt more than letting go? The scrubbing resumes, but sharper now, the sponge tearing slightly under her grip. The guilt sharpens into something edged, a quiet fracture in the silence. Doubts flicker. This obligation, is it love or just fear? She pauses, hand trembling over the photo, the apartment's walls closing in. Can she name the pain without shattering everything? Without proving she's the one who failed? The question lingers, unanswered, as the weight shifts, insistent, unyielding. In a shift to broader perspectives, the camera lingers on Lena Ortiz in a softly lit cafe corner, steam rising from her untouched coffee like a veil of unresolved breath. She's mid-30s, sharp-eyed, her hands gesturing as if pulling memories from the air. Off-screen, the interviewer's voice prompts. Tell us about Mara as a kid. What was she like before all this? Lena leans forward, her voice steady but edged with urgency. Mara was the fixer. Even at 10, she'd patch up my scraped knees after we raced bikes down that cracked alley. Don't cry, she'd say, her little hands all bandaged from trying to hold everything together. But she never fixed herself. She'd hide the bruises from her own falls, smile through the sting. That's Mara, always the shield, never the one behind it. She pauses, fingers tracing the rim of her cup, the clink of porcelain cutting the quiet. The light slants through the window blinds, striping her face in shadows that dance like unspoken accusations. I see it now, clear as that mirror in her old bedroom. Lena continues, her gaze drifting as if seeing it there. The full-length glass propped against faded wallpaper, where they'd pose as invincible sisters. We'd stand in front of it, giggling, making faces. But Mara, she'd always turn away first, like the reflection was too honest, too raw. Her voice drops, direct now, slicing through the interview's gentle rhythm. Mara, if you're watching this, And I know you are. Your silence is killing you. It's not just quiet, it's a cage. Every time you swallow the hurt, every time you nod and say, I'm fine, to keep the peace, you're erasing pieces of yourself. I watched it start back then, and it's devouring you now. Staying small, staying silent, it's not loyalty, it's surrender. Lena's eyes well, but she doesn't blink, her posture unyielding, a quiet demand for reckoning. The camera pulls back slightly, capturing the empty chair across from her, the one where Mara might sit, unseen, absorbing the words like a slow burn. Tension coils in the air, thick as the cafe's aroma, as Lena presses on. Remember that mirror? It never lied. It showed the girl who deserved to be seen, not just the one doing the seeing. You've hidden from it long enough. What happens when you look straight at what's breaking inside? She exhales, the moment hanging, unresolved, a spark of awakening flickering against the weight of old habits. The interviewer murmurs thanks, but Lena's stare lingers on the lens, unapologetic, as if willing Mara to step into the light. Later that evening, Mara's fingers curl around the edges of the faded photograph, the paper soft and brittle like old skin. She sits on the edge of her unmade bed in the dim apartment, the blinds slanting shadows across her face. Her hands tremble, not from cold, but from the weight pressing down. A guilt that coils in her chest like smoke she can't exhale. The photo stares back, her younger self, smiling beside Jordan, their arms linked in that unbreakable pose of early love. It's from before the arguments turned to whispers of doubt, before his needs became her chains. I can't let go, she murmurs to the empty room, voice cracking like the creases in the image. If I do, it's like saying none of it mattered, like I'm turning my back on him, on us, on who I was supposed to be. The words spill out, heavy with the lie she's carried for years, that her worth is woven into this caretaking, that releasing it would unravel everything. Jordan's face in the photo blurs through unshed tears, manipulative even in memory, his eyes pleading for her to stay, to fix what he broke. She imagines Lena's voice echoing from their last call, urging her to see the pattern, the way this duty suffocates. But here, alone, it feels like betrayal. What if freedom means losing the only purpose she's known? What if stepping away proves she's selfish, unworthy of the peace she craves? Her grip tightens, knuckles whitening, then loosens just a fraction. A tremor runs through her arms, not just fear now, but something sharper, a flickering clarity amid the guilt's fog. She traces the faded smiles, feeling the pull of obligation loosen, ever so slightly. Self-care isn't abandonment. A quiet thought whispers, it's the first honest breath. But the question lingers, heavy in the air. Can she release this past without shattering herself, without betraying the love that once defined her? The photograph slips an inch in her shaking hands, hovering on the edge of the bed, as if deciding its own fate. As days pass and the internal pressure builds, Mara sits rigid in the therapy room, her fingers twisting the edge of her sleeve like a lifeline. The air feels thick, weighted by the guilt she's carried all morning, the echo of Jordan's unanswered texts burning in her pocket. Dr. Rhodes leans forward in his chair, his voice steady, a quiet anchor in the dim space. Trauma bonds, he says. They're like invisible chains forged in intensity. Not just love, but a mix of fear and hope that keeps you hooked, even when it hurts. It's your brain's way of surviving chaos, clinging to the familiar pain, because letting go feels like falling into nothing. Mara's mind reels. Nothing? That's what it is. Me, dissolving if I step away. If I choose myself, isn't that betraying him? Betraying us? The thought presses down, a familiar heaviness in her chest, making her breath shallow. She nods faintly, but her eyes dart to the window, where afternoon light slices through the blinds in thin, hesitant stripes. Faint glows, cutting the shadows, like cracks in a wall she's built too high. It's not about blame, Dr. Rhodes continues, his tone gentle, accessible. Think of it as a loop. The highs pull you back, the lows make you doubt your worth. But recognizing it, that's the first break. He pauses, watching her. And self-compassion isn't selfishness, Mara. It's oxygen. Without it, you're suffocating everyone, including yourself. Her throat tightens. Oxygen? Or just another excuse to run? What if caring for me unravels everything we've patched together? The guilt surges, hot and insistent. But his words linger, probing the edges of her doubt. She shifts, the chair creaking softly. Let's try something simple, he suggests. A breath practice to ground you. Inhale for 4 counts. Feel your belly expand, not your chest. Hold for 4. Exhale slow, like releasing a weight. It's body work, Mara. Trauma lives in the tension. This invites space. She hesitates, then mirrors him. In, the air fills her. Tentative. Hold. The room stills, the blind's light flickering across her knuckles. Out. A sliver of release, like the shadows retreating just a fraction. Her mind quiets, the guilt's grip loosening. Not gone, but lighter. A cautious spark flickers. Hope? Could this be real? Space without shattering the bond? Dr. Rhodes smiles faintly. See? You're already starting. It's not about cutting ties overnight. It's learning to breathe through the pull. Mara exhales again, the light through the blinds warming her face. The question hangs unspoken. Can she let this in without it all crumbling? For the first time, the weight feels movable. With these insights stirring, the balcony air hung heavy, with the scent of rain-soaked concrete. The city skyline, a jagged silhouette against the fading dusk. Mara leaned against the railing, her fingers tracing the cool metal bars, gripping them tighter as Lena paced the narrow space like a caged storm. The wind tugged at their hair, but it was Lena's words that cut sharper. You think this is just about you and Jordan? It's about us too, Mara. All those years, I waited for you to show up. For real. Birthdays, breakdowns, the nights I needed you, and what did I get? Crumbs. Your "I'm fine" texts while you played martyr in that apartment. Lena stopped, her eyes flashing, hands slicing the air. She wasn't yelling, but each word landed like a shove, pushing Mara back against the bars. Mara's chest tightened, anxiety coiling like the vines creeping up the building opposite. Her knuckles whitened on the railing, the metal biting into her skin, a steady anchor as her world tilted. I was there when it mattered, she whispered, voice cracking. I didn't want to burden you. You have your own life. Lena laughed, bitter and raw, stepping closer until their shadows merged on the floor. Burden? That's the lie you tell yourself. You ignored what you needed, and it poisoned everything. Our friendship? It's frayed because you vanished into his mess, sacrificing bits of yourself until there was nothing left for me. Or you. I see it, Mara. That same victim stare in your eyes. The one that says you'll break before you ask for help. Admit it. The pain of staying silent is killing you, and it's killing us. Mara's breath hitched, her grip on the railing slipping, then tightening again. The bars felt like bars now, confining, yet holding her up. Flashes of forgotten calls, unanswered pleas from Lena, surged through her. The cost of her silence etched in the distance between them. Anxiety clawed higher, but beneath it, a spark ignited. Not fear, but a quiet resolve. To care for herself wasn't erasure. It was the first honest step. What if, what if saying it out loud makes me the selfish one? She murmured, eyes meeting Lena's, the question hanging unspoken between them. Could she claim her right to care without shattering the bonds she cherished? Lena softened, just a fraction, reaching out but stopping short. Then we rebuild from the truth, but you have to choose, silence or us. The tension thrummed in the space, electric, unresolved, as Mara held the railing like a lifeline, the city's hum urging her toward the edge of decision. Soon after, the phone buzzes on the cluttered kitchen counter, its insistent trill slicing through the dim afternoon light, filtering through half-drawn blinds. Mara freezes, mid-sip of her cooling tea, heart slamming against her ribs like a trapped bird. It's him, Jordan. She knows the rhythm, that programmed vibration that once meant rescue, now just chains. Her fingers hover, trembling, the air thick with the old pull. Answer, soothe, surrender. She lets it ring. Once, twice. The sound echoes off the apartment walls, a relentless pulse mirroring the anxiety coiling in her gut. Will this be the call that unravels everything? The faded photograph on the fridge stares back, her younger self smiling in his arms. A relic of the lie she once swallowed whole. Ring. The noise drills deeper, stirring memories of whispered apologies. His voice, a velvet trap, promising the world if she'd just stay. On the fourth ring, she snatches it up, thumb sliding to answer, before her brain catches up. Action surges through her hesitation. She presses the phone to her ear, but says nothing. Silence, her new weapon, fragile as glass. Mara? Baby, you there? Jordan's voice slithers through, smooth and urgent, laced with that feigned warmth she used to crave. I know you're hurting. Come on, talk to me. I miss you. We can fix this. I promise. I'll be better. Remember that trip we planned? Just you and me, away from all this noise. You need me, don't you? Without you, I'm lost. The words hit like hooks, tugging at the guilt she's spent years feeding. Threats lurk beneath the care. The unspoken. If you don't, you'll regret it. You'll be alone. Her breath quickens, anxiety flooding her veins, chest tight as she grips the counter's edge. But Dr. Rhodes' words echo in her mind. Trauma, bonds thrive on response. She clenches her jaw, forcing the silence to stretch. No justifications, no pleas, just the weight of her own resolve building. Mara, say something. You're killing me here. His tone sharpens, impatience cracking the facade. You can't just ignore this. We both know you want to come back. Focus sharpens in her core, a quiet fire replacing the panic. She sees it now. The line she's drawing, invisible but ironclad. Her voice emerges, steady and clipped. No. The word hangs, simple as a door slamming shut. No explanation, no softening. First, it's Lena, mid-40s, voice steady, but eyes glistening. I stayed for the kids, you know. Guilt was my anchor, but one day I realized my peace wasn't selfish. It was survival. Nods ripple around the group, a murmur of agreement. Then Raj, younger, his words halting. The shame. It normalizes the poison, but saying it out loud, that's when the chains start to loosen. Mara's throat tightens. Their stories mirror her own. Jordan's voice in her head, that velvet manipulation twisting love into obligation. Will I be able to say it without excuses, without explaining why I deserve this, as if my pain needs a footnote? The light catches the edge of her water glass, refracting a tiny prism on the table, drawing her gaze. It's warm, insistent, cutting through the dim corners where her doubts huddle. Anxiety coils in her chest, a vice squeezing her ribs. She imagines bolting for the door, the faded photograph in her pocket burning like an accusation. But the group's eyes, kind, expectant, pull her back. No one pushes, yet the air hums with invitation. She inhales sharply, the words bubbling up like a confession, long buried. I deserve peace. Her voice cracks, small at first, then firmer, slicing the quiet. The room stills, then exhales. Yes, murmurs Elena, reaching across the table to squeeze her hand. Guilt's normal. It's the scar tissue. But you saying that? That's healing. Raj nods. We're all proof it's not betrayal. It's reclaiming. Warmth blooms in Mara's core, anxiety ebbing into a tentative acknowledgement, like dawn-piercing fog. The light seems brighter now, encompassing her, as the group leans closer, their collective nod a bridge to something freer. Yet, in the back of her mind, the question lingers. Can I hold on to this without slipping back? As the turning point approaches, the cafe hums with mid-afternoon chatter, steam rising from half-empty cups like unspoken regrets. Mara slides into the booth across from Jordan, her hands steady on the table's edge, though her pulse thuds in her ears. The chair opposite her, upholstered in faded vinyl, waits empty for a beat before he arrives, slumping into it with that familiar slump-shouldered charm. She notes it. The void before him fills, but already her mind sketches it barren again. I've been thinking, Jordan starts, leaning forward, eyes locking on hers, with the intensity that once felt like love. We can fix this, Mara. Remember that trip we planned to the coast? The one where we'd start fresh? I know I messed up last time, but I'm better now. For us. His words coil like smoke, pulling at the old guilt threads in her chest. Anxiety flares, hot, familiar, urging her to nod, to soften. She inhales, Dr. Rhodes' breathing exercise anchoring her. In for 4, hold, out for 6. The air tastes metallic, but she meets his gaze without flinching. No, she says, voice level, cutting through his preamble. That's not happening. I've set boundaries, Jordan. This meeting is to tell you my plan. I'm leaving. The apartment lease ends in 2 weeks. I'll be out by then, with my things sorted. No more waiting for promises. He blinks, smile faltering into a crease. Leaving. Come on, you're just stressed. Think about what this does to me. To us. You owe it to what we've built. Don't throw it away over one bad stretch. The manipulation lands like a practiced hook, stirring the sediment of doubt. Her fingers tighten on her coffee mug, knuckles whitening, but she doesn't yield. Action surges now, decisive, unyielding. She slides a folded paper across the table, a simple itinerary, dates and logistics in black ink. This is final. I'm not explaining or justifying. Contact me through the mediator if needed. Otherwise, we're done. Jordan's face hardens, then cracks into pleading. Mara, please. You're breaking my heart here. Isn't there some way? She stands, chair scraping softly against the tile. No, this is me choosing peace. The words hang, solid as the table between them. She turns toward the door, the cafe's light slanting through blinds in stripes of clarity. Behind her, Jordan sits frozen, the booth's opposite chair now echoing with the space she's claimed. As she steps into the street, the anxiety ebbs into resolve, a quiet fire in her veins. But in the rear view of her mind, the question lingers. Will his silence hold, or will the guilt's echo pull her back one last time? In the aftermath, Mara and Lena sit cross-legged on the worn rug of the apartment balcony. The city hum a distant murmur below. A small wooden box lies open between them, spilling out colored markers, a fresh journal, and a calendar pinned with wildflowers, pressed flat. The air smells of chamomile tea steaming in mismatched mugs. Lena's ritual insistence on warmth. "Look at this," Lena says, her voice soft but steady, flipping the calendar to next month's page. She draws a bold red circle around the 15th. Our first no-guilt zone hike. No phones, no second guessing. Just us, reclaiming the trail like we used to. Her eyes sparkle with that unfiltered hope, the kind Mara has started to envy, like sunlight cracking through storm clouds. Mara nods, but her fingers tighten around her mug, the heat biting into her palms. Hope flickers in her chest, warm and tentative, as she watches Lena jot down notes. Morning yoga twice a week, weekly check-ins with Dr. Rhodes, a gratitude jar for the hard-won days. It's all so deliberate, this weaving of care into routine. They light a single candle together, vanilla-scented, Lena's choice, its flame dancing as they whisper affirmations into the wick. "I am enough," Mara echoes, her voice threading with Lena's. The words feel like a bridge from the old shadows, but as the candle gutters, doubt creeps in, a familiar chill. Celebration? It tugs at the frayed edges of her heart, whispering that joy is a luxury she hasn't earned, that pausing to breathe means abandoning the pieces she once held too tight. What if this lightness makes me forget? Mara murmurs, her gaze drifting to the blinds inside the open door. Slats of afternoon sun slice through them, golden fingers stretching across the floor, illuminating dust motes in lazy spirals. Not full blaze yet, but insistent, pushing back the dim corners where guilt used to pool. Lena sets down her marker, leaning forward without crowding. "Forget what? The weight you carried for so long? Mara, this is the ritual. Marking it, naming it. You're not running. You're choosing." Her hand hovers near Mara's knee, a silent offer of solidarity, respecting the space Mara has learned to claim. Mara exhales, the hope solidifying into something firmer, a quiet resolve anchoring her ribs. She picks up a green marker, drawing her own circle on the calendar, a solo art class, a boundary, all her own. The light through the blinds warms her skin, a subtle promise of more to come. They clink mugs, laughter bubbling up, raw and real. Yet in the pause that follows, the question lingers unspoken. Can she hold this joy without it slipping into selfishness, without the old responsibilities clawing it back? Finally, the camera lingers on Mara's face, soft, afternoon light filtering through half-drawn blinds, casting striped shadows across her weary features. She's seated in a quiet room, the kind that feels like a confessional. Unadorned walls, a simple wooden chair, the faint hum of the interviewer's off-screen presence. Her eyes, shadowed by exhaustion, dart briefly to her lap before meeting the lens. The weight of years clings to her posture, shoulders slumped as if carrying an invisible load. "I used to think safety meant holding on," she says, voice cracking like dry earth underfoot. Her fingers fidget with the locked journal on her knee, its leather cover worn, unyielding. Every day, it drained me, pouring myself out until there was nothing left. But now, she pauses, breath shallow, the internal tug-of-war etched in the furrow of her brow. The words stick, a final barrier between fatigue and release. Can she voice it? Claim it for the unseen eyes watching? With a deliberate exhale, she twists the tiny key in the journal's lock. It clicks open, pages spilling secrets long buried, scribbled doubts, unspoken aches. Her hands tremble as she lifts the faded photograph from between the leaves. A younger Mara, smiling beside shadows she no longer names. the image curled at the edges, like a memory refusing to fade. Exhaustion lingers in her sigh, but resolve flickers. She rises, moving to the small basin by the window, water rippling gently from a hidden source. The photo slips from her fingers, landing soft on the surface. It drifts, colors bleeding faintly into the current, carried away without ceremony. Mara watches, breath steadying, the chaos in her chest easing into a quiet rhythm. No rush of regret, just space. Empty, inviting. Turning back to the camera, her gaze steadies, the light now warming her face, chasing shadows from her eyes. "I deserve peace," she states, present and firm, the words a bridge to those listening. "It's mine to choose." Calm settles over her like a blanket. The interview capturing this quiet revolution, yet in the air hangs the unspoken. Will this freedom root deep enough to ripple outward, touching those who see her now?